What's going on, fragrance family? It's your man Gator, better known as the Novice Nose out here in these fragrance streets. And today I'm coming to you guys with a review I'm super excited about because this fragrance has been on my radar here for quite a little while now. So, a couple of years ago, Givenchy dropped their Gentleman Society fragrance here. Now, Society was kind of a break from the norm from most of that gentleman line because it was missing that key ingredient that all of that line had, and that was the note of iris. So I've talked about plenty of times on this channel how big of a fan I am of the iris note, especially in Givenchy. So when I saw that note wasn't there, or at least they don't name it, and when you smell it, you don't really pick it up. You pick up something that, but anyway. So when I heard about it, I was like, I don't know if I necessarily want to go for that, but I tried it, and I was pleasantly surprised. What you got from that particular fragrance was kind of a nice soft Palo Alto note. It kind of came across almost like a sandalwood in that. You got a nice vetiver and you got some sweetness in there that made it almost like a sweet creamy vibe. And in all honesty, it was a strong like for me. Now, not a love, but it was a very strong like. So when I heard that they were going to be releasing a flanker for that Society fragrance, I was like, okay, kind of interested, but not so sure I'm sold, until they said, hey, we're bringing back the iris in this particular fragrance. It had piqued my interest when I saw what they were going to do with it. So before I do anything else, let me go ahead and introduce the fragrance. So this is Gentleman Society Extreme. Let me see if I can get a good focus on it. Let's see, it'll go there eventually. Cameraman. And then the way that the finish is on here, it plays hell with the camera. So anyway, this is Givenchy Gentleman Society Extreme. Now, when you say extreme in the name, you start thinking that, oh, it's going to be what it was before, but it's going to be deeper. It's going to be richer. It's going to be more aggressive when it comes to the way that this fragrance presents itself. Well, you're not wrong on this, but, well, let's get into the notes on this particular fragrance. So let me go to the notes for the original Society, and I'm going to use that as a reference point because it does matter here. So the top notes on the old Society, original Society, are cardamom and sage. The mid notes are French narcissus, Haitian vetiver, and Madagascar vetiver. And then the base notes are vanilla palo santo, which was what gave it that creaminess there, the vanilla with the sweetness, and then cedar. Okay, so the powderiness, of course, from the cardamom on there. It was a beautiful fragrance, don't get me wrong. It just didn't have that buttery iris that I'm so used to with the Givenchy fragrances, though. So it was just a strong like I said. So on the Gentleman Society Extreme, these are the notes, and these notes play a big factor on how this thing progresses. So in the top, you have nutmeg, peppermint, and clary sage. In the mid notes, you have coffee, you have orris root, which of course is your iris, yay. You have your French narcissus, you have your Madagascar vetiver, and Haitian vetiver again. And then you have in the base notes, Madagascar vanilla, Australian sandalwood, and then Himalayan cedar. So, as you can tell already by the notes here, they are going for something that's going to be a little more deep, a little bit more rich, and they pull it off with this particular fragrance. So before I do anything else, let me get a little spray on here, you know. I love this stuff. Spoiler alert, this is really, really good. So, when you first spray this on, that opening hits you, man. It rushes in. It's not super strong, but it definitely grabs your shoulders and shakes you. You get this rich coffee note when it opens, man, but it's a bright coffee, and when you look at the note breakdown, you see why it's such a bright coffee. It's not actually that the coffee is so bright. It's that that peppermint comes in and just uplifts the coffee. That peppermint is definitely distinctive in the opening here. It gives it like this fresh intro, you know, kind of fresh, kind of peppery intro. You start to kind of pick up, like literally within the first couple of minutes of this, you're picking up that pepperiness, but then you start picking up this other like freshness. And at first I thought maybe this is like a lavender or something, but after looking at the note breakdown, no, I think it's actually the clary sage, because it's kind of an earthy type of freshness that's going on there, and which why I probably thought it was like a lavender, but no, it's actually most likely here that clary sage that you're getting. But anyway, whatever's doing it, that first couple of minutes you get this bright, rich coffee. It's slightly minty at the top, and then you also are getting this other freshness. So it's a pretty fresh opening, but that coffee actually brings it down and gives it a little bit of depth. So you're looking at this probably for that first, I would say 20 to 30 minutes. Those notes are playing with each other in harmony, and they are really giving a well blended, beautiful presentation and intro into this particular fragrance. So I say probably around, I would say the 30 to 45 minute mark, you start to notice that that peppermint starts to kind of, and I love smelling this stuff. You notice that the peppermint starts to kind of dissipate a little bit. It's still very fresh, which makes me know that it is that whatever's adding the freshness isn't the peppermint, but it's still very fresh. You're still getting a little bit of that coffee, but that peppermint is pretty much dissipated by the time you get into that 45-minute mark to about an hour. But what you are getting at that point is the introduction of the iris. That iris really starts to make its way into that fragrance, into the like main stage, probably around that 35 to 40 minute mark. And by the time that peppermint dissipates, you're all in on that orris root. That iris starts to really make itself present, man. And then you start getting a real reminiscence of what Givenchy Gentleman fragrances usually are. One of the things that really starts to also make itself present here is the vetiver. You start really getting the woods start to make themselves present in this particular fragrance. So I would say that iris really starts to jump in around that hour mark, but around the hour and a half to 2 hour mark, you start getting that vetiver. That vetiver starts to make itself known. It gets the fragrance starts to get a real earthy tinge, which blends perfectly with the coffee. And as that coffee begins to dissipate, it perfectly transitions into that earthy vetiver note. You start picking up that cedar as well, coming into that hour and a half to 2 hour mark. That cedar really starts to become a presence in the fragrance. It's not overpowering, but it is playing its role in the background here. So you do start picking it up around that hour and a half to 2 hour mark. I mean, as far as like in the air in present. If you just smell it on your hand, you start picking those things up a lot quicker, but you know, y'all ain't rookies. Y'all already know what it is. So one of the other things that starts kind of flashing, and it's odd kind of how it does it, but you start picking up this like random sweetness that kind of pops in and pops out. Like if you smell your hand, like I got it on my hand right now. Y'all saw me just spray it. You don't pick it up, but if I start waving my hands a little bit, you'll start picking up this random sweet note out of nowhere. That is that Madagascar vanilla, and I recognize it from a couple of other different fragrances that I have that Madagascar vanilla in it. So that vanilla is so well blended into this particular fragrance, and it like I said, makes this apparent presence known, like in the background, and just little subtle wafts that you'll get of the fragrance as it kind of continues along its progressions. So as you're getting into that 4 and 5, that 4 and 5 hour, you're basically getting your vetiver, your wafts of Madagascar vanilla, and that's blended really well with the iris here, and that iris begins to dissipate a little bit, and in exchange you're getting that sandalwood. So you start getting this creaminess, you get a nice woody base in there with like random pops of sweetness. Now I will say, on skin, this lasted me somewhere in the range of about 7 to 8 hours. Now the way that this thing progresses as far as like how it projects though, it projects pretty strong for that first maybe hour and a half or so. I would give it maybe arm's length projection. Now as it moves into like that hour 2 and 3, you're looking maybe about a foot to 2 feet off of you. So it goes into like a scent bubble pretty fast. I mean, I'm looking at probably within 2 hours it was in the scent bubble range, and at hour 4 it was literally a skin scent. Now the sillage on this is beautiful though. The sillage continued all throughout the day. So if you pass by somebody, they're still gonna pick it up. They're gonna pick up wafts of it coming off of you. But I mean, it's not really a bad performer though. The Givenchy fragrances aren't known to be these boisterous projectors that are gonna be pushing out all day, because that wouldn't be gentlemanly, right? This is a gentleman's fragrance, so it presents itself like a gentleman would do. I love this stuff. I really do. I think that for the price of this, which retail I think is around Givenchy's are around 110 or so. For the price of this, I think it is an amazing pickup. This is a great addition to that gentleman line. And if this is the way that they're going to present the flankers in the Society line, I'm looking forward to the next Society. That's all I got for today, guys. Let me know how you feel about this fragrance if you put your nose on it. And also, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you share this video with somebody you know that loves fragrances. Till next time, guys. Peace. I'm out of here.